Now, your Storm Team 7 forecast first.
Well, a very good Wednesday evening, everyone. It has been a sunny day across the upstate of the mountains, and that has pushed temperatures into the 70s in the upstate. We're still holding on to mid-60s in a few spots in western North Carolina. It's mostly clear this evening, and heading through the overnight, temperatures drop fairly quickly under those clear skies. Tomorrow, we wake up to temperatures in the upper 40s in the upstate, low to mid-40s in the mountains. We'll take a look at some warm temperatures coming up in the forecast in a few minutes. 7 News at 7 starts right now.
Now on 7 News at 7, tracking the coronavirus crisis, how health officials have responded to cases continuing to rise sharply in South Carolina.
The city of Greenville putting certain restrictions on public places and also times you can be out. We'll tell you what you need to know.
New tonight, lawmakers work on a historic stimulus bill, what the money could mean for you.
Tonight, only on 7, an upstate family quarantined. One family member COVID positive. Their story coming up.
Live and local for Carolina's family. This is 7 News at 7.
Good evening. Of course, we're still tracking the coronavirus crisis as the president declares a major disaster declaration for 6 states.
Of course, we want to begin with checking the numbers. The latest numbers in now. 82 new cases in South Carolina announced today. That includes 27 cases in a number of upstate counties. It brings the total for the state up to 424 cases with 7 deaths reported. North Carolina has 504 cases. We found out today that there is now 1 death in the Tar Heel state. Also Georgia, over 1,200 cases now with 40 deaths reported.
In Buncombe County, they've issued a stay-at-home order. It begins tomorrow at 8 p.m. The order lasts till 6 a.m. April 9th at least. All county residents are ordered to stay where they live unless performing an essential activity like getting food or medical supplies. Department of Health and Environmental Control now predicts more than 8,000 people in South Carolina could have the coronavirus by the 2nd day of May. Georgia Reed Godfrey has more information.
New data from the Department of Health and Environmental Control predicts that by next week there could be more than 2,500 cases of coronavirus in the state. DHEC issued new numbers Wednesday afternoon predicting more than 8,000 cases of coronavirus in the state by May 2nd.
We have now moved from a disease containment strategy to a disease mitigation strategy. Our goal now is to monitor disease spread in a community and not identify every case.
A South Carolina biologist also came up with his own predictions.
We need predictions like this so that we can prepare. We do not want what's happened in Italy, where they have run out of spaces in hospitals.
According to DHEC, if the state does see those predicted numbers, medical facilities and hospitals are prepared.
We have at this point in time 5,260 beds open. We're running at about 57% capacity. We, as I reported the other day, have 1,260 ventilators. We have reported about 180 in use at the present time. We have requested 130 ventilators from the Strategic National Stockpile.
But Morris fears if more extreme measures aren't taken to keep people isolated, resources will become scarce.
We need to start looking around for alternative sites where we can put overflow patients. Like where would you put additional beds?
DHEC also announced an additional 82 confirmed cases of coronavirus. In Columbia, Georgia Reed Godfrey, 7 News.
All right, so let's break down some details that we've just learned about who's been diagnosed and how severe the illness has been so far. This is according to the Department of Health and Environmental Control, and we're going to break it into a couple of groups here. This is the group 40 years old and younger. That's about 29% of the cases so far in the state. Younger people can get sick with this disease. The other is on the other side of that 50-year-old age group. These are the people 50 years old and older, and you'll see the distribution does skew heavily in that direction. That's about 56% of the people diagnosed with this disease in the state are 50 years old or older. And we've got a pie chart here to give you another important piece of information. The state broke down for us how many of these patients needed to go to hospital at the time of the diagnosis. This orange group right here, about 24%, are people who were hospitalized at that time. About half of them, 51%, were not. This large gray group, though, is still a huge group of uncertainty. They don't have an answer yet as to when those people or if those people were hospitalized when they were diagnosed with COVID-19. Nationally, it's been reported about 20%, 1 out of 5 positive cases required hospital care. So these South Carolina cases, at least, do appear to be running at a higher rate of inpatient care.
Well, we have an exclusive interview tonight with the wife of a Spartanburg County man who has been diagnosed with COVID-19. Mary says her husband spiked a fever last Tuesday and that he went to the doctor on Wednesday. His test came back positive on Monday, and he has been self-quarantining from the beginning. They don't know how he got this, but they are feeling optimistic. And how's he doing? Is he okay?
He is. He's got a terrible cough. His fever finally came down to 99 this morning, which was awesome. We've been running 103 fevers for days. One day it got up to 104. Wow. But it's starting to break.
Now, doctors say a high fever is one of the hallmarks of this virus, and some patients have been reporting a loss of hearing or sense of smell and taste as part of their symptoms. Mary says that did not happen, as far as she knows, with her husband. Tonight at 9 on the WSPA Facebook, we did about a 15-minute interview just now walking through the quarantine and isolation process in case COVID-19 shows up at your home.
As the number of cases continues to rise, scientists around the world are committing entire labs to try and find a vaccine. While they traditionally take 8 to 10 years to develop, researchers are now sharing information with each other, hoping to fast-track the process. One doctor says he's close to a potential solution, a spike protein or adjuvant that will be used to block the virus from attaching to a host.
I think a vaccine is going to have a very high level of immune responses to block that, because it's going to be extremely hard to interrupt that binding. And that, of course, interrupting the binding will keep you from getting sick.
Scientists in Houston, Texas say they're building off a vaccine they created to fight another type of coronavirus, Middle East Respiratory System, or MERS.
In addition to state and federal guidelines, some local cities are taking extra precautions when it comes to social distancing. The city of Greenville has closed down a popular park that's located right across the street from us. 7 News reporter Ayla Ferrone has more.
Not only is the city putting restrictions on places like Falls Park, but starting tonight, there will also be an 11 p.m. curfew. And the mayor says now is time to take these extreme measures and, above all, stay home. On the average spring day, Falls Park would be bustling around lunchtime.
We always check the park out, and we figured we could do enough social distancing in the park here and still get some fresh air.
But since the city shut the park down, there are just a few people running and walking, including Jerry Lovingood and his wife. He's taking extra precautions.
Our age, our daughter is getting groceries for us and setting them on the porch, and so we're trying to take all the precautions that have been recommended.
And is glad the city is too.
We just need to do what the authorities tell us to do so we can bend this curve and get this virus situation over with.
And that's what we think more than ever. This is the time for people to stay home.
That's why Mayor Knox White has put a restriction on gathering in public places, including the park and plazas in the city.
We looked back at what happened last weekend, and we took advantage of that to really dissect, where people tended to gather.
He's also imposed a curfew for the downtown area, which goes from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m.
It actually applies to everyone, including residents of downtown.
He says with the weather looking nice for the coming weekend, now was the time to act.
But in terms of acceleration, we're right there in the middle, if you will, which is a pretty serious place to be.
The mayor says at this point, everyone needs to work together to flatten the curve.
I think the next few days, in fact, will be determinative of how just what the acceleration looks like in South Carolina and the upstate.
Meanwhile, people like Lovingood remain optimistic about the future.
I understand that, and we're going to get through this thing okay.
Again, the city of Greenville is keeping a close eye on anyone trying to gather in public places like this. They tell me you won't necessarily get a ticket or get arrested, but you will be asked to go home. I'm reporting in Greenville, Ayla Ferrone, 7 News.
The mayor also says that he believes this is a statewide issue, and he hopes the governor takes more action and addresses bars and restaurants across the state, as well as personal services like hairdressers and spas. Also tonight, a local group is collecting emergency food and supplies for shelters that need a little help. Greenville County Councilman Rick Roberts is calling on residents to help the homeless community. You're asked to donate perishable food, soap, diapers, baby formula, clothing. Volunteers are working with Miracle Hill Ministries to distribute those donations.
Checks are not coming into a lot of individuals that are living paycheck to paycheck. So just like everything else with our hospitals in different areas, I see this as being needs are going to continue to grow. We're going to see our homeless increase.
So you can drop items off on Friday between 1 and 6 at Palmetto Restaurant and Ale House off of Pelham Road or at Southside Christian School in Simpsonville.
Schools are to remain closed through the end of next month. Teachers at Boiling Springs Elementary School had a parade for their students to let them know they're missed. 7 News reporter Henry Coburn has that story.
Teachers tell me that empty classrooms and empty schools like the one you see here behind me are hard on everyone. But one local kindergarten teacher came up with the idea for the parade after she came across a similar thing on social media. About 40 teachers lined up this morning here in the front driveway for the school. They had decorated their cars with signs, balloons, streamers, and window paint. With the help of the Boiling Springs Fire Department and the school's resource officer, they set out. The route wound through neighborhoods and apartment complexes where students live. Teachers planned the parade to see their students and say hi from afar to keep up with social distancing guidelines. Teachers say the pandemic is a hard situation to explain, especially to younger students.
We joked about it before this even happened that the C word was not allowed in class because you could see the panic. As soon as someone would mention coronavirus, they would panic.
Teachers obviously miss their students, and students tell me they miss their teachers just as much. In Boiling Springs, Henry Coburn, 7 News.
And remember, more information is coming in constantly on this coronavirus, so you can depend on 7 News to get you the latest on air and online. Just head to WSPA.com at any time you need information. Click on that banner you'll see at the top of the screen. We have information on virtual doctor visits, drive-through testing, and a lot more.
Next on 7 News, Americans stranded because of the crisis. We're hearing from 2 still trying to get home.